Greetings, everyone, and welcome yet again. My latest guest on the podcast is Irene Moore. Irene is a multi-talented entrepreneur who's excelled in many sectors such as marketing, wellness, coaching, PR. She's probably also more well known for working with some of the most world famous women. We're going to touch on some of that later in helping them bring their product to market, their beauty products to market, and create maximum impact. Irene is also well loved and respected within the industry, and I'm so excited to have her here. Irene, welcome.
Hey, Keisha, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited for your new show. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. You know what? When I was thinking of this show, you were one of the first people on the list. Not only do you have a wealth of experience in different sectors, as I mentioned, but you've just got such a fountain of knowledge that I would love to tap into and share with our audience. But as in keeping with the tradition of this show, we always kind of go back to then bring things forward. So I would love to, and I don't even know this, even though we've been friends and colleagues for many, many years. I'm dying to know about your background. So first, can we start with where were you born and where did you grow up?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Nigeria, in Enugu. So I'm Nigerian, both parents are Nigerian, British. We moved to the UK when I was about 3 months old. So I've always been, in the UK. But all my older siblings were born there. My youngest sibling was born in the UK. So yeah, that's where I was born.
And where did you grow up? Were you London or out of London?
Yeah, we grew up in London. Definitely feel like a Londoner, always at heart. That's my city. And yeah, growing up I know what you were asking, you're saying you don't really know this, but like for us growing up, I'm one of 5 siblings.
Okay.
So growing up in London in a Nigerian household was loud, basically. It was loud. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of laughter. It was I'd say a fairly strict home. I wouldn't say that, my parents were very modern in the way that they thought. My dad was, worked in media. My mum was actually a stay-at-home mum until I was way into my teens. So I always had that, that confidence and that support. Yeah. But yeah, we definitely grew up in a Nigerian home. Like you can be whatever you want outside, but when you step back into the Okoro household, it's a Nigerian home, right? So it was very loud, always a lot of people around, and a lot of laughs, I would say.
Okay, so what were you like at school? Because you mentioned that your household was quite strict. So did that impact then on schooling? Was schooling very important to your parents? Were you quite academic?
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny. Yes and no. So when I say strict, we just had some very clear parameters for who we were. My parents were very open to us being, meeting people and being confident, being out in the world. So it wasn't kind of their way or the highway. They just trusted that we would continue the rules when we left the house. So it wasn't enforced, but education was definitely very important. I think most Nigerians who have grown up in that kind of environment will tell you that. But interestingly, I think I was the one who was more driven by, being in that top 3 in the class and getting to, that was definitely me. I never really felt a pressure from parents. That was definitely something that I just enjoyed, trying to be the best of it. And even though my mum didn't work, she was trained as a Montessori teacher. And so she was qualified. Learning was always very playful and very enjoyable. So I didn't really have like a strained relationship. I really enjoyed education. I enjoyed school. I enjoyed, trying to be the best at whatever I was doing. I wasn't always the best, actually. I wasn't very good at a lot. I wouldn't say I was hugely academic, but I did enjoy the learning process.
Awesome.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that kind of gives me a clue, because I think you are still really, you always strive, because I've worked with you in a number of projects and brands, and I know you have. I know if I'm working for you, I have to come correct. Not in a way,
but you always do anyway.
Yeah, but you just you've got a very high standard, and I think everyone that works for you wants to do well by you. That makes sense.
Do you know what? I feel really lucky to have met the incredible people I've worked with, like yourself. I think we all want to make our mark in some way in this industry. And we know as well as Black women that we have to, there's an element, there's an extra layer, right, of finesse that you want to bring to things, because you want to make sure, you know, you do feel the pressure that you're representing other people as well. So I've always, honestly, I've always loved working with you. You're always, I think you also have an incredibly high standard as well. So it's easy. It's easy when I've got people like you around.
Absolutely. Okay, so school, you was academic. Well, you said you wasn't necessarily academic, but very driven, very much wanting to achieve high grades and do well, and you found it quite playful. So, how did the interest in like beauty, popular culture, that sort of thing come about for you? Would you say?
I think that when it comes to the PR side of, I guess, my career, I always had an interest in media because of my dad, right? So
Right.
he was a journalist who then got into politics. And so, and he was a writer. So I had a good understanding of that. And so did my mum. And most, you know, traditional African parents wouldn't necessarily understand this world. So I
Yeah.
think I was very lucky in that I could see something that I wanted to model, and I understood the relationship between PRs and journalists very early on. So that was exciting for me. I can honestly say I fell into beauty. I didn't think
Okay.
that this industry was for me, if I'm going to be real. Like I didn't really, that was never what I set out to do. Like when I first embarked in the kind of PR publicity career, it was in the music space. And
Oh, wow.
so that was what I thought my career was going to be. And I just remember one of my really good friends at university, we had to do like a 1 year, like it was a sandwich degree. So you have to find a
Yeah.
1 year placement. And I'd applied to all these labels. I wasn't hearing back. And one day she just said to me, girl, you need to start applying to other things. Like, do you mean, I know you love music, but you need to start applying to other things. And no joke, I went on the job board and I saw a brand that I knew my mum used because I used to love playing with makeup. But I literally saw a brand called Revlon, and I was like, I'm going to apply, literally because I saw her use their product. There was
No
no
way. Wow.
there was no other logic to it. I knew it was a big brand, and I was like, yeah, my mum uses that, and when she leaves the house, I sometimes go and play in her makeup bag. So I guess the interest was there, but it wasn't like I never set out for that.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I mean? Which is
We
really
are
funny.
so similar because I likewise wanted to work in music PR and
Oh,
just found it really hard to penetrate that industry and then started looking for things elsewhere. And
yeah.
yes, that's
See,
yeah, I didn't know that either. Yeah,
yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? I
yeah,
think so many people don't even know. I didn't even really know a beauty publicist existed. I didn't really
exactly.
know that there was a role that, that tailored to it.
Yeah.
But I do sometimes think, oh, what would the world be like? Because I remember when I got that internship, about 2 weeks later, I got a call from a label about a radio promotions job.
Right.
And I think, thank God I stuck my guns, because obviously everything's changed so much now with how the
Every,
music industry works. So
exactly.
the
We
beauty
made,
industry
we made
found us, Keisha.
the right, we made the right choice ultimately. Absolutely. Okay, so you applied for the job at Revlon. What was the position of that job?
It was literally an assistant, just a PR assistant role. It was part of my degree, and it was a 1 year
Okay.
placement. And I just remember walking into, at that time, they had this amazing office in Kentish Town, which was like a few stops from where I grew up in Northwest London. And
Okay.
so I was like, oh my God, it's so close. This is brilliant. And I just remember walking in and being like, no, they're definitely not going to want me. Like walking in, and like they had this huge catwalk going down the middle of the office. And it was so
Wow.
gorgeous to me. Yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
different world. So yeah, it was a PR assistant role. I was there for a year, and then when I graduated, they offered me a job as well. So that's kind of where I'd say I cut my teeth
Amazing.
in the
Yeah.
industry. Yeah.
And that was probably what, 20 plus years ago?
All
Without
right.
giving anyone's age, because I'd
No,
imagine,
actually, it's 2020
yeah,
Jeez,
yeah.
Keisha.
Sorry. I just said 5 years
That's
ago.
all
Five
good. This is crazy how quickly it goes.
Yeah. So, because the reason I asked is, how would you say the industry probably has changed loads? How would you say the PR industry has changed from back in the day when
Mm,
you were a newbie, doing your sandwich year placement to
yeah.
now, where, yeah,
Yeah, a lot, a lot. It's a different world, to be honest, and I think it needed to be. When I was there, I think there was maybe myself and one other Asian girl there at the time. And so there wasn't a lot of diversity. There wasn't a lot of even the types of people, because when we think of diversity, we always kind of go to like color or race.
Yeah.
But I think even the types of people, right? So what I mean by that was that it was a very type of person that worked in PR back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They usually, had certain characteristics, or they were already in social circles that allowed them to operate freely and successfully in that space.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that really drew me to the industry was just, I've always been better at telling other people's stories. I've always been a storyteller. Even when I was younger, and actually I didn't mention it, but even when I was younger, I always used to be able to kind of storytell, come up with stories on the fly, and be able to and I think that really lent itself well to PR, how it was then. So like coming up with stories for brands, making sure that it lands with their audience, identifying who their audience is. I really enjoyed that, matching the brand to story to the customer. And I think how it's evolved now is that we just do the storytelling differently, right? Because we do it through content, right?
Yeah.
So whether content that the brand is creating or leaning and leveraging people with more influence, more reach for them to tell our stories for us.
Right.
And so those are the biggest differences, I'd say, is that the storytelling is just done through a different platform. And also there is just more interesting and diverse stories to tell because the industry has become more interesting and diverse.
Amazing. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I'm in a few PR groups, and a lot of the sentiment within these groups is traditional PR is dead. The old way of doing things, press release, sending that press release to the press and hoping for coverage. Would you agree with that sentiment? Because I know you've made the transition to more of a digital marketing as opposed to traditional PR. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are this. I don't think that PR will ever be dead. Personally, I think that the media just looks different. So like the end user is different. So whereas traditionally it was always about courting the beauty editor, the beauty director, they were the kind of the focus. Whereas now, for a brand to survive and to thrive, we really need to be thinking about the customer. And we really need to be thinking about the community, because we now have platforms that we can speak directly to our customer. You've got to remember, when back in those days, the only way to connect with your customer was through the media, right? And so now that there's so many other platforms, brands can be more customer centric. I think depending on where you want to take your brand and where your brand is, there is always going to be a benefit to PR. If you're a global brand, there's always going to be a benefit. If you're planning to sell your brand down the line, there's always going to be a benefit. If you're trying to build your own personal brand off the back of it, there's always going to be a benefit to you being featured, because anyone can grow a following, right? But when you show up in media and when you show up in press, I think it does give a certain level of credibility and desirability that not everyone can achieve. So I think it's evolving. I'm always open to things changing. I've always enjoyed being, when I first started working with influencers, they weren't called influencers then. They were just like cool girls doing things with makeup online. That was literally what it was. Like, no one really understood why I was doing it, why I was sending them product. And so I think it's just being open to the evolution of how the customer wants to get news.
Yeah. Awesome. And that's another thing I've noticed about you. You're very good at kind of foreseeing changes ahead and being able to kind of pivot. And I attribute that's why you've achieved so much success and sustainability, whereas others have had to probably change careers altogether and stuff. So would you say that is quite an important skill to have in this current climate, is the ability to spot when things are starting to change or pivot? And
I think, and I think it's like a personal thing, isn't it? Like I'm genuinely interested in trends. I'm genuinely interested in what's coming next, and watching. I wasn't the most, like one of the things, questions that we were talking about was like, what were you like as a kid? And I don't think I'm that different. I was always very chatty, but very introverted. And so I enjoy watching and seeing how things are going to maneuver and move. And I think it is important, if you're going to work in any popular culture sector, to be led by the culture as well as being able to shape it through your storytelling. So I think it's important. I think that I can also see how it can be very scary for a lot of people to be thinking, oh, this industry is changing and it's shifting, and you can evolve right with it. You don't
Yeah.
have to stay where you are. And what I actually love, even with you launching this podcast and things, is that you can be your own platform, right? You can create
Yeah.
your own platform. You can share your voice in different ways. And I think that's what
Absolutely.
people are opening up to now. I
Yeah.
think it is important. I think it is important to be open to not believing you know everything.
Yeah.
That is actually really the key. It's like being ready to learn from someone else.
Being curious, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, I would also like to touch on the fact, because like I mentioned in the intro, as well as PR marketing, you also work one-on-one with female founders, I want to say, who are thinking of bringing products to market and so forth. Um, what are some of if someone wanted to work with you, for example, how does the process work? What are the things you look for? Because I'd imagine you don't work with everyone that approaches you. How do you
No,
you and this person are going to gel and connect, and you can actually
yeah.
make something of their product that they're bringing to market?
Yeah, sure. Yes, I do. I work really closely with founders. They don't have to be female. I just tend to attract the females. But everybody is welcome if you have a brand that you want to grow or an idea. And the process now, we've actually really been working since moving to from the UK to Jamaica. We've really been working on streamlining the process to make it easier for people to self-identify where they're at in the journey. Right.
Mm.
So typically when someone comes to me, they're at one of three stages. They're either just about to launch, so they've created their products, or they've been creating products for a while and they actually want to take it up a notch. So they haven't actually publicly launched. So that might be
Okay.
someone who had a very specific skincare issue or skincare design, decided to create a product for it. It might be an expert like a makeup artist or a hairstylist who now wants to bring out their own range. And so they come in at different angles, but they're
Mm.
basically wanting to launch. With that, we have a really great launch toolkit, which basically walks you step by step over 12 weeks how to launch that product, how to market it, so that you just feel really confident to be able to just like follow it. And it's very bite sized. So it's like, this is the training. We have tons of
Okay.
like worksheets. Like this is one that we have. I'm reviewing a lot of worksheets. It's all about
Awesome.
brand storytelling. So we get, I don't know if you can see that. So
Yeah, I can
we get
see. Mhm.
get them to do that first and really get comfortable with their message and their storytelling. And then depending on where they are, we help them launch. If
Mhm.
they're coming in but they've already launched and they're seeing some sales but not consistent sales, I would invite them to join Brand Hub, because that is a different experience. It's more membership based, and it's more for those who just want that accountability so that they remain consistent and show up for themselves and for their
Okay.
brand. And so
Okay.
there's more live coaching in there. They can ask me questions. It's less about just content, going through content, and more about just like giving them like the exact roadmap that they need each month to show up. Obviously, we do marketing for our global brands, so we bring a lot of what we're learning into Brand Hub and simplifying it for an indie brand founder. And
Okay.
so every month they kind of get their clear plan of what they need to focus on. And then that accountability and peer support is there for coaching and also collaborating with other brands.
Okay. And is that just one-on-one? Was that as part of a collective
No, it's a community. So
community? Yeah.
typically, I like them to have launched already. But if you haven't launched, you also get access to the toolkit. So that's another way that depending on when they come in, and if you come in and you're a bit more established, you can
Mhm.
either hire a company to do the marketing for you, or I can work with you one on one. This works a lot for VIP clients who
Mhm.
who can't be part of a community
Mhm.
and don't necessarily want to reveal anything beforehand. Then I can work with them one on one right from inception to help them launch. So it really depends what level they're coming in, and we've just about to launch a new quiz, which is what is the next move for your beauty biz, which will help you identify where you fall in and which avenue would be best for you, just to streamline it and simplify it for founders.
Awesome. That sounds very exciting. So that's launched, and people can find out about that via
Yes.
your social media pages or
Yeah,
your
you can
website.
just
Yeah.
go to irenemore.com. It's all on there. You can find out and learn more, and you'll start seeing the quiz, I'm sure, around the interwebs. But yeah, everything is on there. irenemore.com.
Awesome. Awesome. So earlier this year, you set the internet abuzz when it was announced, well, especially among us beauty community people, when it was announced you'd be working on Beyonce's Cecred brand. You've also worked with other celeb founders like Gaga and Tiona Paris. How does working with a celebrity brand owner differ from working with someone who isn't famous per se? Or is it essentially quite similar things? I'd imagine everyone, whether you're mega famous or not, you still have like maybe nerves, apprehension, and still, probably need a little bit of hand holding throughout the process. Is there any common threads or themes you've noticed among brand founders?
Yeah.
Probably not a lot you can probably say because I know there's
No,
confidence.
no, no.
Yeah.
I just want it to be. I'm just thinking of just thinking about thinking the question through. I think obviously I'm so grateful and feel very lucky to work with the brands I work with. I learn a lot from working with them as well, because they hire the best teams, they have the best marketers, they have the best, like literally the best of everything. And so that makes it more enjoyable for me, to be honest, because after 20 plus years in the industry, you want to still feel challenged and you still want to feel like you can learn and be inspired by people. And I definitely feel that working on those kind of level of brands. I think that what I love most about working with those kind of brands is that at this point, it's less about the brand name and really working with brands that are truly committed to the innovation, who are truly committed to inclusivity,
Yeah.
who are using their platform and their brand to support the communities in bigger ways. And, all of the brands that you mentioned have that as their core essence. They're mission driven, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's really important because I'm not just trying to launch any brand. Like I really want to enjoy working with the brands that I work with and feel inspired by them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in terms of the similarities, I would say for me, the process remains the same, right? So like I always talk about kind of the kind of ABC of brand building, right? And so for me, there's always going to be certain things that we need to do regardless of whose brand it is or what brand it is. And that's, making sure that we are tapping into and nurturing an audience, creating an audience that we can nurture for that brand. The brand awareness piece, which spans across sort of PR, partnerships, publicity, and then there's always the customer loyalty piece as well. And so for me, that's always the same regardless of who we're working with, because those three things are essential for you to have a brand that thrives. So I hope that answers the question a little bit, but I feel that if you have a system that works, it should work regardless of the size. Yes, you may have to tailor it to a smaller brand, smaller budgets, but the process, the strategy should be the same.
Absolutely.
Right? It should evolve and be the same. So I hope that kind of helps.
It does. And do you feel, because it does seem like every day there's a new brand, new launch coming out, do you feel that it is kind of tipping towards saturation point, or do you feel there's still a need for more innovations, more brands, as you mentioned, servicing or being committed to diversity? Do you still feel that we have some way to go to achieve those things?
Yeah, and I think that's what's exciting. I think in our world, which is so fast moving, and it's very easy to kind of feel like long in the tooth with things and be like it's saturated, but we're not the typical consumer. And that's what people forget, right? We're not. You're not, because you're effectively come from a beauty editor background. A lot of the PR that you get is because they want your opinion and they value your opinion. I'm in the industry. I get a lot of stuff, sent to me. We're not the typical consumer. And I think we forget that actually for the typical person, it's really exciting when a celebrity launches something. It's really exciting for them. This is not what they're working in day out. And so as much as I understand that there's more of it, I just think that people are really starting to understand the power of their own platform and they're
Yeah.
utilizing it, and they have typically the power and the desire to make it better than what it is now. And I think, in a way, it's calling the whole industry to account,
Yeah.
right? When you go and work with a brand like Haus Labs that has like 51 shades, I can't now see a reason why I would want to work for a brand that doesn't cater for everybody,
Yeah.
because I know it can be done, right? And I think the consumer mindset is shifting. It's like, well, if it can be done here, why can't it be done here?
Yeah. I
So in a
agree.
way, I think it kind of ramps up because they already have audiences who will tell them about it, right? And so
Yeah.
it kind of brings everybody up a little bit.
Everyone has to elevate or raise their game. But I will
100%.
say I'm still not over it. I love product launches.
Yeah,
Things like new ingredient. I'm still a product junkie. I
I love
was in
it.
Boots yesterday and I was like, oh, it's like a kid in a candy store. And I was interviewing Irene Shelley a few weeks ago, actually. We were talking
Yes.
about just how different things are now. And I never would have, when I compare to when I first started getting into beauty, like maybe mid-teens, and I'd go into Boots and Lewisham, and there was just Fashion Fair, Rimmel,
Yes.
Max. There was only
Yes.
like maybe 5 or 6 brands, and that was it. So to now go into Boots, the same Boots, and see a
Yeah.
ton of brands, and every brand has their own unique thing. And
Mm.
as you say, different target audiences, different skin tones. I think it's amazing. And I'm like, bring it
Yeah.
on. I really, really am excited about this time.
I
And
agree with you.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. And for us as well, we're looking back at 20 years in an industry where it looked so different.
yeah,
Like, most people don't have that visibility of how it used to be not too long ago.
exactly.
And so
Doesn't even
for
seem that long
me,
ago. It just feels like
yeah,
the last maybe
really,
10 years or so. Yeah, we've seen an explosion of brands, and it's just an exciting time to see what will happen next. So
mm,
you're not jaded by the industry yet. You're not over it. You're still excited and motivated and inspired, aren't you? Would you say?
yeah, I mean, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
No, no. When I say the industry, there's two different things, right? I think that in terms of brands, I think there's always opportunities to innovate and bring something new, bring something fresh, even if that's just in your communications approach and your campaigns and your community building. Like, there's always an opportunity to do things a little bit better, or
Yeah.
just to do things differently and be disruptive. I think that the industry definitely is shifting. I wouldn't say that I'm sort of jaded with it, but I think what I'm witnessing is almost like a very slow burn to making sure that the changes we see on the front end are also
Mm,
happening in the back end of the business.
mm-hmm.
That for
Yeah.
me needs to speed up.
I 1,000% agree. I think it's all well and good, having these diverse shades and offering something for everybody. But if these changes aren't reflected in the back end as well, then it just
It's
almost seems
hard to
like,
maintain.
yeah,
It's really hard to maintain. And, and someone who is in the back end, who is on the brand side, I can tell you that it's hard also for the people who are championing diversity to continue doing
yeah,
that. Right.
yeah,
So it's a lot. And so I think that that's the piece that I think still needs, will still continue to grow.
yeah.
And I think it's the piece that brands, and luckily the brands I work with do prioritize that, making sure that
Mhm.
inclusivity happens in the back end.
Yeah,
And I think that's where the piece where I think brands need to focus on now in order for them to stay relevant.
exactly. Yeah. Great answer. Okay, so one of the questions that I'm really curious to ask you, everything that I've seen you do just seems to be wildly successful. Every idea you've conceptualized is like, yes, Irene's just really, really killing the game. Has there,
Thanks.
yeah, can you share a time when something you launched or an idea you had didn't quite hit the mark and you felt like it had failed?
Yeah, I could give you loads.
Really?
Yeah, I'm in it right now, girl. I'm in it right now.
So
Yeah,
how do you deal with failure then? Because you are, to me, a true sense of an entrepreneur. You're always elevating, innovating, launching things, always moving forward, it seems. So
yeah, but I think
how do you
that's it.
deal?
I think
Yeah.
that's it. Right. Sorry, I'll let you
Now,
finish.
how do you deal with when something didn't quite hit the mark or hit expectations that you had for it? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, of course, we have failures. Like everybody does, things that don't work out. I'm one of those crazy people that decided to launch a brand in lockdown, like a wellness brand called Light
Yeah.
Garden in lockdown.
But it's still
And
going though.
still going, and we
Yeah.
started off with like loads of attraction, loads of excitement. And I made some like really silly mistakes in terms of my supply chain, right? So like
Mm.
working with suppliers that literally couldn't meet the need, couldn't meet the standard, which meant that I was letting down a lot of potential customers. I also couldn't take certain opportunities like pop-ups that we had an opportunity to like
Mm.
be featured in Primark and things, and I couldn't deliver. And that's
Yeah.
really frustrating because I probably could have moved in a different way to make sure that this supplier could support me in the way that I need to, but you don't because you're just so excited to kind of move in that. So like we always make mistakes, and I think the way that, just to your point about, I feel like you're always launching and always doing new things. I genuinely feel like, and I can't remember where this quote came from. It's not my quote, but someone
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I need to find it." But someone said, "You're either winning or you're learning."
Okay. I love that.
To me, that really resonates because yes, there's going to be a lot of things that you could like accolades and things that you can celebrate. But why I love having my own brand and having that independent space and working with independent brands as well is because there is such an opportunity for growth and such an opportunity for learning. I don't necessarily a failure is a failure, but I also see it as like, okay, now I've learned that lesson.
Mm.
I can now improve my business, but I can now also share this with my community who are also running independent brands.
Yeah.
And so I try not to dwell too much on the fact that it didn't go exactly as I wanted. Because actually the learnings that we got from Light Garden was that we just need a very small edit of products. There's certain things that work really well that people are looking for when it comes to wellness, and actually a lot more education and the kind of more self-awareness is what people
Mhm.
were looking for. And so it's helped us create better products. Like we've just launched like a whole new batch of journals, like planners, like just
Yeah.
digital planners that people can, go in and from everything from emotional eating right through to, your self-care journey, through to how to get better sleep. And those are the products that people are really, for me, it's not something I set out to
Yeah.
launch, but you have to listen. It goes back to what we were saying before, right? You become more customer centric.
Yeah. It's
And so, yeah, I think you just learn from the mistakes. I also learned as well that I don't really love being the face of anything. Like I really enjoy this behind the scenes, you know, way of being and way of working. And so again, that's a learning, right? So learning that, okay, you're going to have to maybe find a way that works for you despite being introverted
yeah.
because you show up as a founder. So I think there's loads, girl. I could tell you loads. It doesn't always, I think that people don't, I don't know. I don't think
I think we
that,
make assumptions. I think we make
yeah,
assumptions because you always show up really confidently and own who you are. I think there's just an assumption that everything is just like smooth sailing, which is never really the case. But I think we just have a
yeah.
lot of assumptions that we make as people, like from
And
the outside
yeah,
looking.
and that's what these platforms are for, right? That's why I
Yeah,
always say to people, like, don't get so hung up on the platforms. And even in Brand Hub, like, I'm always teaching people, like my community, how can we grow our audience off social media as well? Because
yeah,
I think it's really important to not get sucked into the
yeah,
highlights. What I witness is a lot of people spending more time trying to game the algorithm than
yeah.
actually building their brand, right? And
Absolutely.
so I think it's really important that I share highlights. I'm not I'm on social media, but it's very as and when. I don't have like a cadence that I use, but I think it's there. That's what it's for, and you can't
Mhm.
really on stories. I'm a little bit more open on my email, my community. I'm much more open about what's going on behind the scenes because I know that my community wants to know that.
Yeah,
Whereas their social media is transient. You're kind of
yeah,
just wanting a little highlight,
yeah.
so
Oh, well, thank
that's
you
kind of
for
how I
sharing
see it.
that. Thank you for sharing that. That's really just interesting to know. I think that's really encouraging as well for people who may not be where they are in their founder journey or their business journey, just to know
Yeah,
that we all have stumbling blocks. We all launch things that didn't quite hit the mark. That's part of the
yeah.
journey, the process.
Definitely. And like, honestly, just want to say as well, like, if anyone is feeling like that, you're still literally 90% closer than most people that just talk about launching
Yeah.
forever. Right? So
Yeah.
even if it doesn't go the way that you want, know that when you are launching a brand, you are launching forever. Like, your first launch is not going to be the same as your sixth launch. It's not
Yeah.
going to be the same as your 10th launch. So like, please be encouraged by the fact that everything that goes wrong, you're actually learning from that. It's just data.
Yeah.
That's literally all it is.
You
And
just
it's
have
not
to
a
do the
reflection.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a reflection of you. You are not,
Yeah.
this is your job, this is your work. It's not
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a little bit of encouragement there, because it can, everyone suffers from comparison on social media. So
Exactly.
it can be
It's
hard.
it's good in some aspects because it inspires you, but it also
Yeah.
causes that whole comparison thing. And then you think, what's the point?
Yes.
Fail before I've even started. I might as well give up, sorry, before I've even started the
Why
job.
even start? Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that I love about you as well is that you are very, maybe not as much on social media because, as you said, you're not on there totally, but knowing you personally, you're very open about maybe spiritual aspects and what people call woo woo in terms of things like manifestation. You're really big on, and the likes of that. Um, how important is that to kind of integrate in your journey as an entrepreneur, and a business owner? How does that show up in your day to day or in your job and what you do, would you say?
This is actually a really good question, because I've never thought that, to be honest, until you asked it. I think, well, in terms of how it shows up for me day to day, there's just things that, little rituals that make me feel more energized. So whether that's journaling in the morning, prayer and meditation, getting my nervous system in a good place so that I
Mhm.
can be of service to my clients. I've always struggled with anxiety. So these are things that are literally what help me get through the day.
Right.
And so, I know a lot of people call it woo woo and things like that, and I do get that. I love a good, meditation, a good crystal.
Yeah.
My lady over there.
Yeah.
But but it's for me, it's more just about how can I set intentions and just
Mhm.
be a bit more intentional about how I'm showing up. So if I'm clear about the goal that I want, I'm more
Mhm.
likely going to get there. And that's
Yeah.
really the thrust. And if I'm aligned to how I want to feel once I'm there, then I'm more likely to be successful, because I'm manifesting how I want to feel and how I want to live and operate in that space.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, in terms of how it shows up for me day to day. But in terms of how it shows up for me in business, and I truly believe that your business is like an external reflection of you.
Yeah.
Right. So, when I'm feeling less organized and a little bit scatty, because we all do, right, from time to time, I'm going to see that show up in my business.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm feeling supported and I'm hiring the right people and bringing the right people in, the business is going to flow in a different way. And for me, the reason why I feel comfortable being open with it is because I want to attract people who also believe that there is more to life than themselves.
Mhm.
Right, there's more to this life, and people who are thinking about, okay, what's the impact I want to leave, either with this brand or with this business or with whatever mission that I'm on. So if I don't demonstrate that, if I don't show these are the tools and that it's not just all me,
Yeah.
then I'm not going to attract those type of people.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying everyone has to be spiritual and woo and stuff, but I just enjoy the company of people who are at least aware
Yeah.
there are other forces at play for me.
And I
That
must
just
say, it's so refreshing to have these conversations with people you work with, because I feel, if I was think back to my days of working in a traditional 9 to 5, I probably would be a bit apprehensive. But what I love about business or working for yourself is you're able to really show up as your authentic
yeah,
self, and have loved our little chats that we used to have about
yeah,
manifestation and stuff. And it's just nice to have someone you're closely aligned with that share these same
yeah.
and philosophies and have the
You
same
can
belief
take what you
systems.
want from it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can take what you
yeah,
want from it. I never want to enforce like my beliefs or anything on anyone else. It's just what's worked really well for me. I've seen if anyone told me 5 years ago that I'd be running this business remotely, living in the Caribbean, I would never have believed them, even though that's what I was manifesting, right? And so I think you just, as you said, you kind of, there's more integration with who you are when you run your own business.
Yeah.
You don't have to switch as much because it's your business. And if you like that, if you're not into the woo, I get some people who I hate all of that. I'm like, great, you're probably not my client. Yeah, because we are probably going to do some breath work before the session. So you just go around that. Yeah, it's just what you want.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, now I've got a tough question for you. What would you say, because you've obviously worked with all the brands, got all the products, can you tell me your top 3 ultimate beauty products right now?
Did you say 3 or did you say 6?
I said 3.
Okay, so I would say, okay. Ooh, I've actually got like a whole bunch here because I was like,
Okay.
what's it going to be? I would say my top 3 would be, would actually be this guy.
Okay.
Which is the Haus Labs concealer. So most people know the foundation.
Yes.
The concealer is actually what I use day to day because obviously I live in a hot country, so I don't always want to have foundation.
Yeah.
And so the concealer is really great. I love it because, as I said, like so much innovation goes into every single product. So that there's over 21 skincare ingredients in this. I love the fact that they invest so much in, you know, the kinds of claims that they can share openly. So, for example, with this, over time, you actually do start to notice a bit of depuffing. So it's not just covering up the dark circles. This isn't a claim, but something that I've noticed personally is I get a lot of pigmentation around here. You probably can't see it because, you know.
Can't see it. Yeah.
I get pigmentation. I have PCOS.
Right.
Endo, so I get a lot of pigmentation around my chin, and what I've noticed is that the pigmentation itself as well has become less aggressive, like less prominent. So I really love this product. This is definitely like the go-to.
Looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
what's lovely.
This is shade 44 medium deep nude. I need to send you some, girl.
Yes, please. And I know what you mean in the when you live in a warm climate, you don't need a lot.
You can't.
Just kind of slides off your face, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. So that's number 2.
So that's number 2. I can't not talk about this product because it's nearly, well, we're already halfway through and I only got it not too long ago. But it would be the Nourishing Hair Oil from Cecred. I love this product.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah.
Good. I love it because the shampoo is the bomb as well.
Yeah.
I love this because obviously my husband and I are both growing out our hair, growing out locks, and it's really hard to find something that it doesn't weigh your hair down, like an oil that gives the nourishment but doesn't make you feel heavy. Yeah. And so I really like that, and it also really, really nice on his beard.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
So yeah,
you know what I love about that? It penetrates. You know, some oils sit on the hair shaft, but
it can sit on the hair exactly.
Yeah, 100%. It's perfect consistency, not super light and not heavy, and it smells gorgeous too.
It smells so good.
Yes,
so that's definitely
Cecred nourishment. Yeah. Lovely, good choice. So what's number 3 going to be?
Okay.
Are you still thinking?
Because I don't want to do another skincare product. Does it have to be beauty? Can it move into like wellness as well?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so if I'm allowed to, I probably would say it's probably this product here. I don't know if you can see it, but this is one of our candles. This has now become a bestseller, these 2.
Amazing.
And the Peace Candle from Light Garden, which is my wellness brand. And I'm so grateful to the industry for this because honestly, we weren't even prioritizing the candles when we launched.
Okay.
And it was my good friend Ate who got it featured on This Morning as part of Black History Month. And it really has shown me that people are really looking for simple ways to self-care in a better way. This one it's got lemongrass and white patchouli in there, and it also has CBD oil. So it's the same modality as like an aromatherapy candle, where you can get the benefit calming benefits of that. And, we sell them individually and as a duo. I always have a candle or two burning at home. And so I would say that in terms of like routine day to day, they would be the ones I would use. I feel bad I didn't talk about these guys. I'm just going to
show me what else you've got. Let's get a quick mention. What's the black bottle? Because like I said, I'm a product junkie. So
I know I need to send you this actually because we've just reformulated it. But this is the calming massage oil from my garden as well. This for me was a surprise. Yeah, I love a massage oil, but I use it all over.
Look at the glow. It's all in the glow. Yeah.
And this helps with like mosquito bites. This is the unsexy part.
Oh wow! What's the ingredients in that?
And so obviously we do have like CBD in there as well. We have like mineral oil. So we have oils like almond oil as well. So if you have got a nut allergy, this is not the product for you. I wouldn't use it. We have like eucalyptus, all the lovely calming ingredients that you would use. We also use a lot of ginger root, which is great for inflammation.
Okay. Because how do you get on with the mosquito bites? Because mosquitoes in Jamaica always run me out of Jamaica.
Yeah. Do you know what? It takes a village. Like we have like a whole system here of different ways that we try and manage them. But in all honesty, I think it's just you just get used to it, and it's just like
get used to it. And then probably used to you now because you've been there.
I'm old now. They don't want me anymore. They're waiting for the guests to come and eat them up. But
exactly.
you just get through it, and I feel bad because I did have more than 3 products, but this is just
it's absolutely fine because it's Irene. Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, I love Irene.
We are currently, as I said to you at the start before we started filming, like it is just turned into autumn, literally from September the 2nd over here. And this, as much as I'm a summer person, what I love about autumn is the candles, the massage oils, the relaxation. So I'm all about that kind of self-care package. So I love that. It's perfect timing for us in the UK or this part of the world where it's starting to get a bit grey, a bit rainy, a bit cold, a bit grim. So thank you.
I love that people are bragging about their self-care now. I think it's important that it is, and this is why I see the beauty industry going, to be honest.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, everything's integrated because I think wellness is kind of I include that almost in beauty now as well. See, that's where things are going. So what does the rest of the year look like? We're in quarter 4. Are you going to like make a final push and really accelerate, or are you going to ease off the brakes a little bit and slow things down as we head towards the end of the year?
Oh, that's a good question. Like, truthfully, this has probably been the most, I guess, like, just calm year. I don't feel like it's been, even though there's been a lot of big things happening and lovely client wins and all of that, I've also been doing a lot of, like, personal healing. I lost my mum at the beginning of the year. And I think you just reflect differently. And, for me, I'm really enjoying this space of like having a good team that I can rely on I took a week off last week, probably for the first time where I fully switched off for like 8 years, like fully didn't check my email, didn't check anything. And that felt really good. So for me, even though there's no big kind of like campaigns, we do have more launches coming up. But for me, it's just really enjoying like, pouring into my team, pouring into the systems, pouring into Brand Hub, and just really enjoying the actual being in the business and enjoying it. It's actually been a really, strangely, a very nice, calm but consistent year, and I'm going to keep in that energy. I don't feel any desire to kind of, big push towards the end of the year. I think that for me, a business is more enjoyable when you build out the systems that allow it to be consistent. So, that's for me what I'm focused on.
And that must be a lovely place. Yeah, it must be a nice place to be. You've worked so hard, as you said, the last 8 years, just building and building. And now you probably have the people in place and the systems in place so you can afford to.
I'm so grateful. Yeah, so grateful. Like, and truly, it's, even though it's a traumatic thing, like it really did start with when I lost my mum. I don't think I would have a business if my team weren't so amazing.
Yeah.
And so they picked up a lot of that. And it's just been really fun to see that you can build a business that does give you a bit more freedom if you can trust the process of bringing in the right people. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm just feeling very grateful for it all, and want to just see out the year as calmly as possible. There's been a lot. It's been a lot this year. So
A lot.
I'm looking forward to like a nice calm rest of the year. And yeah.
We didn't, I know I'm kind of wrapping things up, but I was so excited when I saw Tiana Paris's hair collection.
Yes.
That is
Yeah,
right on the street. When can we see more, or when is the launch plan? I remember, or did you have to sign up for? I think I signed up.
Yeah. I think you can join her if you go to Bloom by Tiana Paris. You'll be able to go and sign up for her kind of VIP, her community waiting list. It's such a beautiful brand, Keisha. Like you'll
that
really
is right on
love
the
it.
street. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's just going back to like enjoying working with founders who really care about what they're putting out into the world, who, you know, again, born from her personal story. In fact, you can see a video which tells you a little bit more about her story on essence.com at the moment. And you're just going to see more and more like gorgeous like styles and textures, and just more of her really stepping into founder mode, which is so exciting for her. She's worked so hard on this. It's been a dream for so long, and I'm very grateful just to play a very small role in the rollout. But yeah, like definitely you'll be hearing more. It's going to be based, you know, in the States to begin with. But who knows? Like it's a beautiful brand, and I love that there's more exciting opportunities for different hair textures coming out into the market as well.
That's what we need, really. As a wig wearer myself, who, you know, loves the wig, so that is right up my street. I will be tuning into that.
Yeah, definitely.
Final question is, where can people find you if they want to get in touch and find out more about the services you offer? Where should they go?
Yeah, sure. So you can DM me on Instagram. I am on Irene Moore _. And if you just go on my website, irenemoore.com, you'll see all of the things that we discussed. You'll see a little bit more about, I have some like free resources for those of you who are just starting out, a really cool like free launch planner that you can just download. It breaks down a bit of a checklist for a launch. If you want more support, obviously you can find out more about the toolkit and you can jump in there. If you want more accountability and community, you can jump into Brand Hub. And if you want to, you know, work one-on-one, you can find all the details on irenemoore.com.
Amazing. Irene, it's been a pleasure. I miss you so much, and I can't wait to see
you.
For now, I will take this. It's been an amazing conversation. I've learned so much about you, and just wish you continued success. I'm always championing you, and like whenever I learn about some new amazing accolade or new part of your journey, I'm always there cheerleading you, and just wish you more.
Thank you. And I wish you the same, especially with this new project. Like, I know that people need to hear from you. You've got such a wealth of experience, and you know, all of you guys that are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast now, you're getting in the early days. But I know that this is going to be very, very exciting and pivotal for you, because you have so much knowledge to bring to the industry and to bring to people coming into the industry. So just congratulations. I'm excited.
Thank you. All right then, my dear, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day. I know it's just starting in Jamaica. It's kind of starting to wane off over here. So thank you, and
thank you.
See you soon. Bye.